Hi there, welcome to Wyckoff AVAX technical analysis session. Last week we talked about the AVAX rocket has finally ignited its engine and it skyrocketed and it continues into this week. However, we're seeing a little bit of selling force around the key green level of $33.90. So let's see what's going on and what to expect next. This is the weekly chart of AVAX as usual. Volume wise, pretty stable. Well, it's like checking the rocket fuel supply, right? So imagine you're watching a movie and like the astronauts are checking whether it's going well and is the uptrend going to continue. It looks like there's not much of a trouble over there. And in terms of this is kind of understandable. So if we take a look at what happened back in the previous PSY periods, even though they were all white candles, it doesn't mean there's no retracement in the middle. So you see these candles, they've got both wicks at the top and the bottom. So what we are seeing now is completely normal in a stage of preliminary supply. So if there's nothing like no black swan, whatever, we are still expecting to see a buying climax. But I already mentioned in previous sessions, this white line over here is a downtrend line for the peaks. So last time when we had the upthrust back in March 2024, and then December 9th, around that period, early December, we've got the buying climax of the previous distribution cycle. The peaks were one lower than the other. So we hope that does not develop into a trend. So what does that mean? It means during the current distribution cycle, the buying climax better not end up somewhere in the middle between the light blue key level 39.8 and the blue key level 54.05. It better go somewhere above or at least closing at the blue key level of $54, around that range, much like what happened back in December 2024. That's what we want to see, and the reason is that indicates the long-term interest or long-term value of the coin hasn't declined. By interest, I mean from the community, or like speculators, investor, whoever that's going to put money in, right? That's the baseline or the picture we would like to see. We're still somewhat around halfway or like 60% to that level. So give it a little bit of time. Last time the PSY period lasted for 5 weeks. We're only 2 weeks in now, so it may take time like all the way into mid-October before we actually see the buying climax. So that's the big picture for now. Bollinger Band corner squeeze, you can imagine that there's no particular squeeze because the price was or has been climbing for 2 weeks. So it's very natural that they are diverging right now, the purple and the orange. So that's the big picture in weekly. Let's go to the daily. So in daily, again, Bollinger Band corner squeeze, it's expected they're diverging. We don't have to switch that on. And the upthrust might have happened, so I'm still keeping this question mark right there because we're still early. We're just 2 days into this like U-turn. So the automatic reaction to, like right after the upthrust, may be forming. I'm going to give you an example. So during the climb towards the buying climax, let me enlarge it. So if you're watching on a mobile phone, that's easier to see. So during the climb towards the buying climax, back in July this year, just 2 months ago, there were like red candles in between. So price can fluctuate during the climb towards the climax, much like what's happening going on towards the upthrust. Price can fluctuate, and it can fluctuate at multiple levels. While this looks like what happened on July 23rd and 24th, these two red candles, the long one and the shorter one, right? It looks very similar. It may be too early to call this an automatic reaction and decide this is the tip of the upthrust. It may come further down where the automatic reaction may end up somewhere lower, closer to the yellow key level of $29.30. Or this hasn't finished yet and it continues to climb. It's just the preliminary adjustment towards the upthrust, but I guess it's more likely that this is the upthrust top. And what happened right over there, this period, we haven't got a PSY over here, so let's copy P1 LPSY and just rename it. That's the preliminary supply. What I usually call this period is PSY2. So AR2, PSY2, that correspond to upthrust. So that's what we're going through. So expect some kind of retracement to happen, which is normal because it may not be over yet. But if it really is and the automatic reaction is there, what to expect is a second test. At least, like if it bangs up, that's the first stage. If there are strong community support or AVAX is announcing something new, like good news on the way, then it may go past the second test level and hits all the way to an upthrust of the distribution. Ideally, it's going to hit the 39.8 that price range, but it's too early to tell of this moment because it has to depend on how the weekly goes. If the weekly fluctuates big between the yellow key level and the green key level, in the daily it will end up being like what I said earlier. The AR2 may come back down here and then the second test right over there before it actually climbs up to the upthrust of the distribution. So remember, the daily is also like always confined by the movements in the weekly. If it doesn't come down and go all the way like 3 straight weeks towards the blue level, much like what happened back in November last year, if that happens, then in the daily chart, then it will be something pretty crazy all the way up. And that would be a challenge to tag the Wyckoff cycle stages if that happens. But that's something I'm interested to explore. We all know the movements are in sync, but in the daily chart, while it's riding a bigger uptrend, it can retrace like within a day or two before the climb continues. So that kind of noisy pattern makes it difficult to mark Wyckoff cycles, Wyckoff stages within these daily charts. Again, this challenge may be a fun factor as well, right? So we've covered the big picture. The rise still continues, the volume looks fine, and basically we're just waiting for the buying climax to unveil. So